Hello, everyone. My name is Olu Akinaja. I presently work as one of Druid's data engineer. I'm based in Montreal, Canada. And within the Druid team, my focus primarily is around building and operationalizing data processing systems using GCP data services. Druid International is a Google Cloud partner that is focused on providing technology and cloud expertise to help reduce cloud cost and boost engineering productivity. So basically, what we do at Druid is to help to drive your projects towards production faster with the help of our dedicated senior data engineers with varying backgrounds and specializations that most certainly will match your use case. Today, I'd like to talk about an interesting use case that I was made aware of, stemming from the fact that I see more and more businesses today looking to draw timely insights from, business data and all that. And we see, in the last couple of years, I've seen more businesses with the Druid team where customers are looking to integrate generative AI into their applications to ensure, insights and values are more easily harnessed. Earlier today, I think I delivered a workshop to a team about how BigQuery ML integrates with Vertex AI and how this helps to create remote models to Google's LLMs that are native to Vertex AI. Anyway, not to deviate from the topic, the growing need of businesses for quicker access to data insights brought my attention to our customer's use case, where he has a Python real-time pipeline that is connected to a cloud PubSub service. So a Google Cloud PubSub service is, just another Google Cloud message service, a message queue service like an Apache Kafka and all that. So typically that's not an uncommon use case because, the integration of Apache Beam and some of these message queue services helps developers to be able to build robust, scalable data pipelines that process messages in real time. So it's not an uncommon use case. But whenever, again, it's possible in Beam because Beam offers, IO connectors, such as the PubSub IO connector that helps to be able to easily integrate a typical Beam data pipeline with, some of these message queue environments and services. In this particular use case here, if you're using a PubSub IO, in my use case, we're using a Dataflow data pipeline, trying to integrate with PubSub IO. You're probably just using the PubSub IO write message method, which is in Java, or it's the write to PubSub function in Python SDK. Usually the code looks like this. The Java SDK is typically just, you have to process the messages and eventually have them written at the bottom there. You see the apply PubSub IO write message method to be able to write to the specific topic, especially if you're working with a single topic. However, my customer's use case is slightly different because what he's looking to achieve is to have PubSub to ingest the data from multiple data sources and have this data, pushed to multiple topics, multiple PubSub topics based on, the particular message attributes that can be pulled from the messages, and being able to do that in real time. This use case is usually called the dynamic destination. And it's not a use case out of this world because I can just imagine a microservice environment where you have multiple microservices publishing messages, and these messages are publishing, and these messages are being routed to specific PubSub topics based on the service that is generating them. So that's the use case of the customer, and that's the PubSub dynamic topic destination. Typically, whenever you're publishing messages to a PubSub topic, there is an Apache Beam PubSub sync that is created. And every time you're creating a client to PubSub topic, publish it, a message publish like that, there's always a sync that is created. And this can easily wrap up and become complex and really expensive quite easily. But this feature in PubSub, this dynamic topic destination feature in PubSub allows for, it allows for you to use a single publisher client to dictate, which message goes to which topic. Again, in Java SDK, there is a PubSub writeMessageDynamic function that allows you to be able to handle this seamlessly. However, this feature is not available in the Python SDK. And we already reported this to the Google team. Again, because we're using Dataflow streaming runner in this use case, a Beam only fix is not sufficient. So we have to always reach out to Google to be able to implement, maybe a workaround, a fix on the Python SDK. So there's a feature request. I already added that to the resource section of this slide, of my slides. There's a feature request available with the Google team, but there's no ETA for the resolution. So the workaround that we came about, involves using an external transform. Okay. I like to mention that, the use of the dynamic topic destination actually is not a one size fit all. Ultimately, you can have different use cases, and there are always alternatives to, the approach that you go ahead with this. Because, for example, I've seen a situation in which, in the data pipeline, you have a side output and you have the messages being consumed from that side output. So there are all the other alternatives that may be suitable for your use case, if depending on what you're trying to do. For example, I touched on two of them here. There is a topic partition feature that is available on Cloud PubSub Lite, which has been deprecated. So, you have to be mindful of that. It allows you to be able to easily route messages based on, if you have predefined set of categories for your PubSub messages, it allows you to be able to do that. But again, PubSub Lite has been deprecated, so you may have to start looking at other alternatives. PubSub Lite is going to be available. It's going to be functional and available until March 18th for existing users that use PubSub Lite before September 24th at least. Also, like I mentioned before, I said Apache Beam and other streaming engine have alternative ways of handling message routing capabilities. I mentioned using a side output earlier. So that's also an alternative that you could use. But again, it all depends on the use case. It depends on a bunch of considerations and, benefits you may want to consider for your particular implementation to determine, the way which is suitable for your use case. So the benefits of using, dynamic topic destination includes, the simplified messaging management that comes with this feature. You're just having to deal with, for example, you could use just a single publisher client and you're able to route messages depending on particular message attributes to different topics. So it makes it easier. You don't have to create new clients every time or having a new Beam to PubSub sync every time for, your implementation. Also, it brings about improved organization because you're having to implement what you exactly want. And of course, it brings about enhanced security as well. In the implementation of dynamic destination, which is the feature I'm talking about on the Google Cloud PubSub, involves, function extraction method where you're pulling out the PubSub topic and using the writeMessageDynamic method that is, again, only available on the Java SDK. So if you're having a Python pipeline, you may have a consideration to be able to implement this. Again, that's why we decided to ultimately use what we call the cross-language transform, which is what Apache Beam provides for connectors available in one language to be able to be used in another language. So to implement, whatever function, whatever method as an external transform, in our use case, it's a Java method that we're trying to implement as an external transform in a Python pipeline. To be able to do that, there are three main Java objects that you have to keep in mind that needs to be implemented. The first one is the configuration Java class. Also, we have the registrar Java class, and then we have the builder Java class. I encourage you to, again, to be able to, I don't want to go through the foundational details around this because, again, there are quite a number of articles on the Apache Beam websites about, implementing external transforms. And also in the past couple of, the last few Apache Beam Summit, there's been talks given by Cherm and other Google software engineers about implementing external transforms. So, with the knowledge from those, it's easy for us to be able to implement, this dynamic topic destination using an external transform. So like I said, we have the configuration Java class, which is the Java object that's important. This Java object that actually serves the configuration settings to the dynamic builder. The dynamic builder class is the one that's responsible for, building the external transform. So again, the registrar part, the registrar objects that implements, it implements the external transform registrar Java interface, and it's used to register the transform with a URL and define the environment to be used. There's also again, I mentioned the builder. The builder is mainly responsible for creating the transform. So of course, in all of this, I mentioned that there are three main Java objects that needs to be created: the configuration, the registrar, as well as the builder. Then there should be an additional Java class, which is the main Java class, where the main logic of what you're trying to do is being implemented. In our use case, we're basically just having the main Java class handling, taking an input of a P collection, and then you're having a pop-up message being created from that input collection, and then you're able to dynamically using, the subIO writeMessageDynamic method, we're able to dynamically just have these messages written to different topics as you may find useful. So those are the details around what we try to do with our customer on our use case. I'll just quickly show a simple demo. It's a really simple demo here. I'm using the Google Cloud. I hope you guys can see. I'm using the Google Cloud Shell. Again, it's just a shell environment that makes it easy for us to be able to interact with, Google Cloud services. It helps us to be able to test and all that. So I'm using the Cloud Shell. The implementation here is basically just taking a look at this CSV file. This is the file that we're passing in to be able to read. I mentioned earlier in the slide, I mentioned that the main Java class handles, taking in the input collection and all those kind of stuff. So basically, I'm passing in the data. Let us assume that the data that I'm passing in is this simple CSV file that has the message. Each line has a message, and at the end of it, we have the topic, the pop-up topic that we're trying to dynamically write to. So I have the comma delimiter, which helps to be able to separate the message from the topic. So basically, this is the data that I'm passing into my Java object. This is the main Java object that handles the logic that I'm working on. Like I said, this just takes the data, tries to to create a pop-up message from there. Picks on the topic suffix and adds it to my topic path, and then I'm able to use the subIO writeDynamic method here. I think so. The other, I mentioned that there are other configurations, other codes that you need to, Java objects that you need to consider. So the first one is the configuration. This allows you to be able to set the configuration settings. Here, there's no real configuration settings in my demo, so I don't have to pass it. So if you have, some special configuration that you need to pass in, you could actually always do that using this particular Java object. Also, there's the dynamic registrar. Basically, this allows you to be able to just define a specific URL for, your Java objects and all that for the transform. Then there's the builder, which is responsible for building the external transform. So again, now that's basically the Java aspect of my code. I'm just going to just run this. Again, I'm running this from the Cloud Shell. Loading. Sorry. CD into this path. So to be able to run to expand an external transform from a remote SDK, basically, you have to always run an expansion service. That's always required because you must have at least one external expansion service for every remote SDK that you're trying to run. So this is the expansion service here, and just get that running, get that fired up. Once the expansion service starts running, then I can go ahead and, bring my Java object as a transform into the Python pipeline. So I'm just waiting for this to get started. Okay, so right here, I see that the expansion service has been started at this port number. So I want to keep that expansion service running. So I just open a new tab and again, go back to the same path that I'm trying to access. So I can, yeah, I've shown you all the Java code. So I can just simply just run my direct runner. I can show you the details of that. So that while that is running, I show you the details of that. So it's just a batch script. It's just a batch script that, CDs into, the Python folder, and then just runs this simple code here to the CSV file that I'm pointing to. Again, it's essential to keep in mind that the path, it's essential to keep in mind that the path of the CSV file has to be specified here. If you're using direct runner, then everything has to be local. So I have the CSV file in this path here. Okay, so please keep in mind that whenever you're trying to do this kind of implementation, because you're trying to, dynamically write a bunch of PubSub topics, those topics have to exist. So beforehand, I already created the default, which again, I'll show you this file here, the CSV file. I've shown you that, there's a default topic that I'm trying to write to, and it pops up topic 1, then default topic, and topic 2, and all this. All these messages are going to be dynamically run and sent into my PubSub topic. So I go to the subscriptions of these topics, for example, and I can here pull the data, and I'll see that all those messages are now being pushed. These are all the messages that I pointed out should be sent to the default topic. So I can simply acknowledge them, pull them again. I acknowledge this. If I go to the topic 1 as well, the same thing, I can have these messages. And that's because I have this running as an external transform. So I'm able to dynamically handle the publishing of my messages. Again, I can show you the Python code, not any special. It's just basically bringing in the Java transform as an external transform and then able to write. So with this feature here, because again, we had this customer that has the Python pipeline and trying to implement something like this, we were able to work with him and able to use, a Java implementation like this to be able to get at, to have these messages dynamically implemented. Again, this feature is this is just a simple workaround that is available that we were able to work with this customer on. We're still waiting on Google to be able to come up with a Python SDK feature that would probably be much more helpful or something. So that's basically all I have to present today.